So, have you ever walked into a room knowing that you were the most qualified, but you felt like an extra in your own story? Yeah, trust me, I can relate. But what if I told you that the kings of Hollywood, the ones who always make the first on the call sheet, felt the exact same way? Today, we're flipping the script on doubt and diving into what it really takes to lead the scene before the cameras even start rolling. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Let's Talk Tech, where today we're diving into the minds behind the scenes and the moments that can ultimately help us move forward. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on Apple TV's Plus new documentary. I want to be able to unpack some hard truths and some pure gems dropped by some A-list Black actors who've paved the way in film and as entrepreneurs and just changed the game across the board. I want to be able to talk because their journey hits right at home for creators, innovators, and pioneers like you. First on the call sheet is a masterclass in legacy, purpose, and showing up with power. So the definition of being first on the call sheet, right? First on the call sheet means that it's really about the actor listed at the top of the cast section, typically the lead role or the most crucial role on a specific day of filming. I'm talking about they interview individuals like Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett, Will Smith, Octavia Spencer, Michael B. Jordan, Marlon Wayans, and so many more. You should definitely want to check this one out. So I want to, the first segment I really want to kind of jump into is that one of the things that really stood out to me is that the crown isn't given, it's earned. Halle Berry said something that just literally jumped out at me, and it really made me, pause the video and really just unpack it. She said, "I was never trying to be famous. I was trying to be undeniable." Man. So I want to kick off this particular segment highlighting that it's about the mindset. It's not about popularity, it's about precision. Halle Berry reminded us that being the first Black woman to win an Oscar for the Best Actress wasn't about chasing fame. It was about making excellence so loud it couldn't be ignored. So for AV techs, right, content creators and entrepreneurs, are you aiming to be liked or aiming to be legendary? I love the documentary so much because what I've come to understand, this is what I've come to know, I love reading autobiographies. One of the reasons why I love reading autobiographies is because I can learn in 70 minutes what took someone 70 years to learn and to master. Let that sink in. I don't have to waste priceless time trying to gain knowledge and wisdom and insight when I can literally reach and grab the correct or the right book, the right autobiography from giants in the industry, and I can literally glean from their wisdom, from their failures, and grow accordingly based upon what they have enlightened and showed within the book. The first in the call sheet, the documentary, is like watching an autobiography almost. These individuals like Jamie Foxx talking about how he brought Denzel Washington over so Denzel Washington can literally pour out wisdom and knowledge that could not be taught, but rather caught. See, first in this particular industry that we have, that we're in, right? What first in, last out looks like in production is you're the first one in the room. If it's, let's say you work in a corporate or at a corporate space, you're first in the room turning the projector on. At church, you're first before the congregation or the crowd comes into service. You're first in there turning the cameras on, right? And then you're turning the sound on correctly in the proper sequence, the proper order, right? And you're testing the microphones, you're cleaning, changing batteries. You're the first in. And then while everyone is leaving, you're the one behind the scenes and you're last to leave because you have to turn everything off in reverse. The invisible prep, right? That is what's going to help separate you from being an amateur and being a pro. When you master the art of doing the work that you have to do, in spite of anybody telling you thank you, in spite of it, because whether it's your job, whether you're being paid to do it, or you're volunteering, or you're trying to just break into the industry, you have to understand your job is to be first in and last out with a smile. It is everything that you do is leading up to something phenomenal, but you have to have that mindset to understand it. So watch this, to learn and to hear that Eddie Murphy only had one audition during his entire career, and that was during Saturday Night Live. But he knew in his mind exactly what he wanted the outcome to look like. See, leadership isn't always loud, but consistency is key. You have to shift your mind. You have to have it in your mind, have everything laid out, right? And because that leads us to our next segment. And our next segment is going to talk about how the audition is every single day. Inspiration from like Jamie Foxx and Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, to be able to watch this documentary, it's like sitting with them and asking them key questions. I love how at one point Will Smith said he had the opportunity to walk up to Arnold Schwarzenegger and ask him a question. How do I become you? How do I do what you do? And his response was so impactful that it shifted Will Smith's mindset to stop thinking about the USA and think globally. I think that's amazing because oftentimes we don't think about it. We learn from mistakes. And to be able to get around individuals and to learn from their mistakes ultimately will help you to grow and to become better at what you're trying to do. So if you have the mindset, understanding that every day is an audition, how do you go to an audition? How do you go to a job interview? You go the most polished. You want them to select you every single time. So therefore, when you have that in your mindset that every day is an audition, you ain't got to get ready because you stay ready. I love how Whoopi Goldberg said it like this. There was a time where um, we weren't allowed to play human roles. Let that sink in. When you're first, you don't just represent your brand. You carry your culture, your history, your entire community. Literally, you carry their hopes on your back. But that's the blessing. You also carry their strengths. I can't stress to you the importance of surrounding yourself with the right group of individuals, because when you begin to surround yourself with the right group of individuals, your life will drastically change by proximity. So whatever you do, whether you are a entrepreneur, whether you have your own business, whether you work in a corporate arena, corporate space, right? Whether you're a tech director, you're a media director, whether you're a volunteer, it's a mindset that you have to show up ready at all times, because every time we walk into a room with gear on our back to set up a live stream or to handle a high level event, we're not just doing tech, we're shifting a narrative. Every technician, my recommendation, every technician should literally have a go bag for gigs. You have extra XLR cables, extra 1/8 cables, Ethernet cables. You should have a bag that you can turn to, and a bag that you can actually, in the midst of whatever you're doing. I had this one gig recently where we were leading up to the event. It was a live stream event. Leading up to the event, I sat with the team. I worked with the CEO of the organization, and we had a Google Doc, and everybody was contributing to the Google Doc. And at the actual event, I had 15 new presentations from 16 different people that I had to load in on the fly while the person was walking to the podium. And keep in mind, as a solo live streamer, I have my everything streamlined for me so where I can easily flow and pivot, right? But outside of having my to-go bag, I want to urge you to have this in your mind. You should have a to-go bag mentally, something that you can tap into. And watching this documentary helped shift my mind into a place to where I understand that hard work is a part of the process, and being able to pivot is a part of the process. Technical readiness isn't the same as mental readiness. This documentary, if you watch it closely, study it, look into it, right? You'll see that it's your requirement, it's your job to be mentally ready for whatever may be thrown at you. In the previous episode, I talked about understanding your gear and knowing your gear, getting into the settings and mastering your settings. But today I want to talk about mastering the mental space required. I love how Will Smith had an opportunity. Again, when you get into certain circles, your reach gets, broad. He had an opportunity to meet with Colin Powell, General Colin Powell. And while eating dinner with him, he said, "So, General, help me out. What is a general?" And General Colin Powell said, "Just that. My job is to be general, to generally know everything that's going on." Will Smith took that, cool, no problem, and applied it to his craft. And so Will Smith everything he began to do, he said, "I want to know what everybody on the set does so that I can give them what they need." He became the general. So for him, first on the call sheet was a matter of being the general, setting the tone and knowing that he had an obligation to make sure that he excelled in what he did and he was able to give people what they need because he generally understood everything about production and about what was required. So I want to urge you, as we all have our, and even if you don't have a tech bag or a to-go bag, right? And I have a couple episodes coming up talking about what my to-go bag look like these days. But the the greatest bag that you can ever have is a mental log of things you can tap in to go back and say, "Well, Will Smith said this, Viola Davis said this." And literally, or my mentor, because I want to urge everybody you have to get mentors in your life. Um, Everyone needs three particular people in your life. You need a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. Yep, I said again, you need a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. So your coach is going to wake up with you. Matter of fact, your coach is going to wake you up at 4 a.m. and then go run with you, and then make sure you're eating properly, right? And the reality is, when you win, the coach wins. Their sole job is to make sure that you win and to help you get and achieve your goals. And then when you lean over into finding a mentor is someone that knows how to do what you're trying to do. They're already operating on the level in which you're trying to grow to or operate on. And a mentor does this. A mentor comes down, imparts into you, but then that mentor goes back up to the level in which they are already on and trying to go even higher. So a mentor swoops in, pours knowledge, helps you out, and then go back up. I've seen it time and time again where people would mistakenly get frustrated because someone was not coaching them, but yet that person never said that they would coach you. They said they would mentor you. You can't get it messed up. And then you have a sponsor. A sponsor is someone who can see you from afar and see what you're doing and say, "Hey, I want to partner with you and help fund whatever you're doing and whatever the requirements, whether you put your logo, on the actual document or the flyer or you put it within your video, right?" But they come in and they literally pour into you financially or however they pour into you. And then they know that they'll be getting a return on their investment because it's all about investing. They're investing in you, right? All three aspects are investing in you, but you have to have the understanding and the mindset which department that particular person may flow in. But you need three people. Again, you need a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. I want to leave or end this particular segment by dropping this little nugget that I hold to be true. It's how I'm teaching or raising my 5-year-old son. Confidence comes from preparation, not titles. I don't care who you are, what you do, your title doesn't mean anything, right? If you're not prepared for it. So for me, I have this conversation oftentimes with my wife and other parents that I know, but I say competence breeds confidence. Be competent in what you do. Understand every aspect of your role, whatever it may be at the current moment, right? If you are a tech director, you assistant, if you are a grip, if you are just the AV guy that goes and do it, understand what you do so that you can be confident in it and walk in it and literally own the room that you walk in. And so that leads me to my next segment, which is the call sheet principle. Being first on the call sheet in Hollywood means you set the tone. You're the leader. The energy you bring, that's the energy the entire set reflects. So here's a takeaway. Even if you're not the CEO, even if you're not the face, you are the thermostat, not the thermometer. So I like this. Lawrence Fishburne said this: when you're the number one on the call sheet, you lead with grace, with fire, and with purpose. So I want to circle back for a moment. What does it mean to be a thermostat? A thermostat walks into a room and can gauge the temperature of the room. But the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer would read the room and then let you know it's 75 degrees. But a thermostat can walk into a room, gauge the temperature of the room, and then shift the temperature because I needed to be a cool 85 degrees in here. And if I'm going to bed, I needed to be 60 degrees, but that's just me personally. Don't judge me. Uh, but you have to understand that you are a thermostat, not a thermometer. I remember one time I was a media director. I was the media director at the Temple of Praise. And I remember somebody had came to shadow me and they were sitting behind me during actual church service. And I remember the person leaning over to me saying, y'all not working, y'all up here playing. And I paused what I was doing and I turned to them and I said, don't do that. And they said, yeah, I'm listening to y'all. Y'all just cracking jokes. Da, 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 da." And I remember saying to them, you can't come on the back end and criticize us when it took years to get to this point. And later on, I began to explain to them how, as a leader, I used to be cutthroat to the point, and I would just, walk in and just start, if trash is in the booth and X, Y, and Z, I'm throwing stuff in trash, and old obituaries, and I'm moving stuff around, and people looking at me like I'm crazy, right? But now the culture in which the team had developed or built turned into was more of a family style setting to where they're volunteering to work the cameras, to manage the live streams, and to comment to people at home watching remotely. The least that I can do is to get to know them. At the very least that I could do is to remind them or check and say, "Hey, how's your dog?" Or "Hey, how's your classes coming?" Or "I know you're in college," because it's my way of saying thank you for assisting the ministry. Thank you for helping to undergird. And we crack jokes during the entire service because for me, humor is required. What we're doing is so important. It's like producing or being at a wedding. I want to get one take at this. But if we're all in here week in, week out, right? I want to impart everything that I know into the team. If I know it, they should know it. But I also know that laughter is good for the soul. So we're going to laugh, we're going to joke, and we're going to crack jokes. But at the end of the day, when it's time to serve, we're on it. All right, I digress. So b- one of the things that I really got to stress is that patience is a power move in tech and media. Having patience is a power move in tech and the media. Nothing comes overnight. Everything takes time. Great things take time, right? But I would urge you to consider and understanding that patience is a power move in tech and media. Learning from losses without losing momentum is important. Um, in the midst of being patient, you would oftentimes, you lose some stuff, you go through some changes, right? But you have watching the documentary pointed out that it's a part of the process. Pain, frustration, doubt, when you're on the call sheet and your name is guy in the back with red hat, but your desire is to be first on the call sheet. You have to learn how to take that L, or not even an L, but yeah, take the lesson and make it a mental note that this is not where I'm going to stop or this isn't the end. Then you have to keep pushing. Because every actor you talk to, they'll tell you that there are times where nobody's calling. Bills still due. You still got responsibilities. You got a family. You still got to do X, Y, and Z. But no one's calling. So I can't act. I can't perform. I can't do X, Y, and Z. I love how the documentary showed that People will fall back on going to New York and doing Broadway, or they'll do X, Y, and Z. You have to understand that patience is required. It takes great things take time, right? But the difference between bitterness and betterment is your mindset. If you can hone in and tighten in and literally lock in on what you want to do or the outcome that you want, Will Smith talks about it all the time. The power of speaking it, affirmations, putting it into the air. I think Eddie Murphy said that when he was like 17, 18, 19. He said, "Oh, I'm going to be famous." And he knew it. It was already in his mind. Will Smith said it best. He said, when I'm locked in, everybody around me has to be locked in. Because if you're not locked in with me, then you can't be around me. All right. This episode is wrapping up. But I want to leave, or I want to pivot into the next segment, because showing up as the lead, even if you're holding the boom mic, is important. I urge you to take up space. Be undeniable. No matter what you're doing within your current industry, no matter where you are, whether you are church tech, whether you are a grip, whether your job is to, you get some gaffer's tape and make sure, whether your job is just to hold the C-stand. If you're on the audio board, no matter what you do, take up space and be undeniable. Learn all that you can learn. Become literally the best at what you are doing. Because at the end of the day, people will know you by the level of excellency that you flow and operate on. So, for instance, I had this one particular gig where I showed up to an event, to a location, and the crew, or the staff was there, and they were trying to assist me, which I always, everywhere that I work, every place that I go, I always try to make sure I find the coordinator, the event coordinator, or whoever's in charge, because shaking hands is, it isn't always the knowledge that you know, but the hands that you shake. And so I remember when I got there, the team said, "Oh, Demetrice, I'm gonna go get you a table." I said, "I got one." "Oh, well, I'm gonna go get you a skirt." I said, "I got one." "Oh, well, let me go get you some XLR cables." I said, I got that as well, right? And I remember they just sit back like, "You gotta be kidding me." Literally, I came with my own cables, my own table. Now for me, I don't have OCD, because if I did, I would call it CDO, because it has to be in order. But what I do know for me, right, is that almost, I can't recall, it's countless amount of gigs or events that I've gone to where I wasn't the lead, or I wasn't, in charge, or I was just walking in to, watch the event or whatever. And I go past the tech booth, and cables are everywhere. So I made it up in my mind that when it's my time to shine, when I get the contract, when I win the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z, the one thing the client will never have to do is worry about cables being everywhere. Why? Because you never know when the CEO, or the president, or the head of HR has to come behind your table, or the event coordinator have to come behind your table and sit with you and have a conversation with you to help pivot or work out whatever technical issues that you may be dealing with. Whether they didn't give you the right PowerPoint, roll that video, Demetrius, and I'm like, "What video? We didn't discuss this." So you never know when a person got to come into your world, into your space. So my thing is, I want to make sure that every aspect of my desk, my table, or even if I'm using their space, it is so well put together that the average person walk away saying, "Demetrius, how did you pull this off? I didn't see cables everywhere." Yeah, they were here, tucked underneath the cable, tucked underneath the tablecloth, right? Even my tripod stands, I put sheets over those, or I put fitted covers over those for my tripods, because literally being professional, or being or standing out, require you to do something that a lot of people in your circle may not be doing. And so you'll get the call back because Demetrius, your company was not in the back. Your company was on stage. Your company was amongst, was close to us for whatever reason, right? And the world could not tell that you were running every last aspect of this conference. You had the lighting board. Every last microphone was tied to your table. All three PTZ cameras, all four cameras, plus the confidence monitor, all tied back to your table. So I want to say, take up space, but be undeniable. Be professional in whatever you're trying to do, because listen to me, it will leave a lasting impression, uh, good or bad, on the people that you're working with. So as I wrap this particular segment up, your workflow is important, branding your workflow, right? But the greatest gift that you can ever do, greatest gift to yourself, is to come with literally with the right mindset. So I want to end this particular episode with a quote from Tessa Thompson. She quoted Lucille Clifton. She The quote goes, "Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model, born in Babylon, both non-white and woman. What did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed." Guys, when she said it, I had to pause it and just take it in. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. But my closing thoughts for this particular episode: First in the Call Sheet isn't just a documentary. It's a mirror for every trailblazer who felt unseen, unheard, or underestimated. It's a celebration of talent, beauty, and survival. I want to leave you with this. You're not just building a brand, you're breaking ceilings. You're not just setting up the lights. Remember, you are the light. And every room you walk into, you were created to leave a lasting impact. If this episode spoke to you, I want you to do me a favor and share your story with me. DM me, drop it in the comment section below, tag the show, and let me know, what room are you first to walk into? Until next time, keep creating, keep leading, and keep being undeniable. Because when you shine, we all shine.